Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pilot's Wife podcast, episode 41, January 2021. This is Amy McLaren, and today I am going to talk about a hidden bonus that I've got for us relationship ninjas. So here's the question. For those of us who don't have a picture-perfect relationship, who don't put our highlights reel on social media and pretend it's all rosy, where can I get some down-to-earth inspiration without any religious barriers? Who can give me real-life encouragement, help me be a better spouse, and tell me how to get an even more enriching relationship without becoming a doormat? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Amy McLaren, and this is the Pilot's Wife podcast. I hope you had a nice Christmas time with your families. I hope that there wasn't too much politics and it was more nice times and family peace than not. But what was it like for you? Because now I'm going to talk about a hidden bonus for relationship ninjas when it comes to learning new relationship skills and getting really good at doing relationships well. And I want you to think about what it's like for you when you catch up with family, and do you have an easy thing going where you just sit back and relax and enjoy and kind of, give each other a bit of, kind of some fun. Do you do this whole fun kind of jabbing, jeering thing with each other where you're all having a laugh and it's fun? Are you relaxed around each other? Or is there things that you try not to talk about because they create conflict and they arise conversations that you don't want to have, that sort of thing? The reason I want to think about it is because something that we don't realize that we're creating when we are really good at relationships and when we do have a wonderful marriage is that we are teaching our kids some really useful stuff. So in the market, like anything you buy, you're being marketed to in one of three areas. It's either health, wealth, or relationships. So everything that is marketed to us is trying to appeal to one of those kind of inner yearnings that every human has, to be better at health, like to lose more weight, to be more healthier, to be more fit, to have more wealth and more money, and to have better relationships. Or, a lot of stuff about, grooming products and stuff is about attracting really attractive people and stuff. So it's either health, wealth, or relationships. And one of the only other ways that we learn about relationships is, through our parents, through growing up. Same as learning about healthy food practices, and same as learning about wealth and how to generate wealth. So has anybody heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad? That's Robert Kiyosaki's thing, where he talks about he had his own dad was poor, he was a teacher, he didn't have much money, and he was kind of like teaching him, you have to go to school to get good grades to get a good job. And then he had his rich dad, which was his friend's dad, who taught him about business and about leverage and about making using resources to make money rather than using your own time and all that sort of stuff. So he had a rich dad and a poor dad, and that's how he learned a lot of his knowledge about finances and getting wealthy. And I've seen examples, and even in my sister's children. She's got 6 children, and she's very, very health conscious and teaches her kids a lot about food and what's got nutrition in it and what's bad for you and stuff. And you can see that in the older kids, like they choose to stay away from stuff because they know that it's not very good for them. I mean, and their kids all like sweets and they like unhealthy stuff, but they know that they shouldn't, that it's not good for them to have it too much, and so they don't go crazy and think, I really have to have that all the time, because they know about it. Even Josh, he learned from his parents how to have a good relationship. So not from his parents, from his friends' parents. So he kind of had like rich dad, poor dad, or rich parents, poor parents in terms of relationships. And so his own parents were not very good at relationship, and they split up when he was a teenager. and his best friend, who he was kind of like his adoptive parents. He used to spend a lot of his childhood there. He used to stay the night at his friend's house 3 or 4 times a week. Those parents had a really good relationship, and that was the one that he wanted to emulate and learn from, because they loved each other. They hung out. They were best friends. They had a good time, and they had a strong bond. So I guess the primary area where we can learn these skills, other than going out and learning for ourselves and looking for information and for books, and and then ideally, as our people who are marketing to us want us to do, is go and buy these products that we think are going to achieve those things for us, is learning from our parents. And so when we are developing our relationship skills and getting better at it, the added bonus is that we're giving our kids a really good start on having good relationships for themselves. And when you can have good relationships, all kinds of things follow, including more wealth and more health. There's this book that I often talk about. It's called The Case for Marriage: Why Married People Are Happier, Healthier and Better Off Financially. And that's a book by authors called Waite and Gallagher. And they have done a bunch of research over time and proven that couples that are married actually are healthier, and they are wealthier as well as happier. They've got a successful relationship. So marriage is good for all three. So when we have a great marriage, then we're teaching our kids how to have a great marriage too. But not only that, how to have good relationships all round. And so there's definitely a stream of thinking that says that when you look at somebody's children, you can tell how good a relationship that their children their grandparents had, because the grandparents have then taught their children some good relationship skills, and then they've passed that on to their children, because it carries on. Like, you can't not kind of by osmosis pick that stuff up and have it in your own relationship. And when you've got a good marriage, again, then your kids have some good relationship skills as well. So it's something that can pass on from generation to generation. And so when we look at, how is our relationship, and we make an effort to design it how we want it to be and make it successful for us, then when we're happy in our relationship, then the kids see that and they learn from the things that we do. And so how I look at it is kind of as a triangle. It's kind of like design is the sort of the point at the top, and you've got on the left-hand corner, you've got you are and you want, and then on the right-hand corner, you've got they are and they want. So that's you and your spouse, and you're looking at a design, an overall design that encompasses those three. So understanding who you are and understanding who your partner is and what makes them up, what makes up, the things that give them joy and the things that, I guess, trigger them to get upset, and understanding all those things, and then thinking about what you want and what they want and what you want together as a team, that design of what you want in your marriage is a really good starting point. And because, and the way the reason that's powerful is because when you have a vision for something and you have a place that you are aiming to get towards, then you're much more likely to get there. And just that in itself is really, really powerful. Like, if you just have that, if you just develop this thing of we want to head there, then your brain kind of naturally, subconsciously finds ways to figure it out. Like, if your design is to have a marriage where you're each other's cheerleader and you're always encouraging the other to achieve the things that they want to achieve in life, when you set that, then your brain subconsciously goes, oh yeah, that's the way we're doing things now. And, and it works and it makes a difference. So I encourage you to think about not only that in your relationship, and that's a really good exercise just in itself, but also to think about what it was like for you growing up and what your parents' relationship was like, or what the relationship of another set of parents was like that you were heavily influenced by, because that'll give you and also your partner really good insight into the things you've learned. And so there's this really also awesome exercise that you can do with each other. If you're going to take the time to have a date sometime soon, which I highly recommend, then this is a really cool thing to do on a date. So what you do is you find somewhere where you can walk for ages. So, for example, a long beach or a good long bush walk or something like that. And what you do is you take turns. So one of you starts off and you just tell the other person your life story from when you were basically your first memory until you met your spouse or your partner. And And the other person is not allowed to butt in, and they're not allowed to ask any questions. All they're allowed to do is go, yes, wow, and those kinds of things. They're not allowed to ask any questions. They're not allowed to throw you off track. And the idea is you just kind of talking in a stream of consciousness about all your memories. Try and do it in order, but it doesn't matter too much. Just from your first memory, kind of growing up, the sorts of things that you experienced in your life, and the relationships of your parents and how that went over your life. And then you get to the kind of the halfway point or the turnaround point, and you swap over, and then the other person has a turn. And I guarantee that you'll learn something about your partner that you didn't know before. And it's really cool to have that understanding of what came before you, and to have a context, for the things that they often refer back to, that time when I went to Japan when I was 11 and stuff like that, and it had this foundational influence on my life in these areas. It really helps you to understand your partner in some of these areas. And if you're talking about the relationships that you grew up with and how your parents were, and or the other foundational relationships around you, then it helps you to understand where you're coming from and the things you learnt from them. And so you want to talk about the good things you learnt as well as the bad things you learnt, like the bad things you experienced, because they're also useful, because we can learn from other people's bad examples of relationship how not to do relationships. And that's also powerful, just as powerful as when you see positive things and you emulate those. So a couple of exercises there for you to do if you want to have a go. One is thinking about or trying to work out who you are, what really makes you up, what are the things that are really important to you and what you want, and then asking a whole bunch of questions to try and get to know who your partner is and what makes them up and what they want, and then coming together with a desire for both of you on what you want in your marriage and in the years of your future together, and how you want to work together to make sure that happens. And then the other exercise is this walk where you take turns talking about your earliest memories up until the point where you met your partner, telling them your life story basically, and in particular talking about the relationships that you experienced and what you learned from the relationships around you. So I hope you have a bit of fun with that, a little bit of homework for this week if you're up for it. I hope you have a really awesome week either way. Thanks so much for listening. I'll catch you next week. Ka kite.